Boy, what a video we have for you today. I ramble for a really long time. I don't know what I'm talking about for a really long time. However, by the end of this video, I still don't know what I'm talking about, but it sure sounds pretty good. We're going to cover the lack of integrity behind the phrase fake it till you make it. We're going to land on my proposed alternative, which is more challenging to pull off, but I think yields far more tremendous results and might actually result in change without feeling the painful behavior of trying to be someone you're not. So stick with it if that sounds interesting. I'll try and timestamp this so that it's not only forever long, and you can just be like, well, that sounds like a lame section, and you want to go to the better section that sounds better. But you're in for kind of a long one, kind of an ambling one. Takes me a while to get there, and I don't even know if any of it's what is it needs to be. But this is what it is, and I kind of liked it by the end of it, and I even liked it during it. But it's kind of a lot, and it's kind of long. So good luck, and I hope that you like it, though. Enjoy. Hello and greetings. This channel did begin, and I've spoken frequently about it, as a way for me to try and express myself and understand myself in ways that I hadn't really been able to previously. It's worked out very well, like being Phineas Former has done splendid. Another way that this channel began, and some of like where its roots were and how it started, was trying to express some of my quasi-pseudo philosophical wannabe thoughts. Because I just have so many of those, and ways that people operate, and way social dynamics do take place, and the mechanisms that go behind things like gratitude, because people will explain real things in life using really trite phrases and, find the silver lining. And it's like, well, there's a mechanism at play there. And I hate how things are not described frequently using the appropriate language, so it's not easy to understand what's going on. And I like breaking things down. That's just really fascinating to me. And I wanted to call those philosofur videos. And I love those because I have a lot of thoughts about senses of identity and how forms of expression work. And if you're lying to your friend group, if you only talk to some of your friends about, say, like the collection of silicone sculptures that you have, and other friends get that information all the time, and grandma's dinner table, you don't talk about how open and honest you are with like sexuality or something like that. And are you lying to these different groups of people based on just how you're presenting yourself, and no one group has the true form of self? I have so many ideas about that and so many other happenings in this world. This channel kind of started with me wanting to express some of those thoughts, because I haven't had a lot of people. Actually, I can't really say that. I have had people in my life who will listen to them, but I just don't think that they've been received as cool as my thoughts are. They deserve to be received far better than they typically get received. So on this channel, as I've learned to express myself and have conversations with myself, I also have been working to receive my own quasi-pseudo-philosophical wannabe thoughts. And for a number of reasons, in part because the channel did begin that way, and that was one of my earlier mission statements, is these are all thoughts that help me out a lot navigate through my own life, and so I thought I could pass that on to other people who might also get use out of my odd quasi-philosophical thoughts or whatever. And the time has not been right for one of these philosofur videos, because I've been working on other things and catching up programming into this channel and sorting out different senses of identity and practicing different things. And then once I learned that it's possible to make videos really casually, which was something I needed to do and still do need to do and still am, then I was really focusing on that, and I didn't make any more of my really intentional philosofur videos because I had practiced what it's like to make those. I no longer needed to practice what it's like to make those because I knew when the time came to make another philosofur video, I know how to make those, and I've been wanting to make one for a long time, but it never felt quite right. And I'm so happy to announce that today it does feel a little bit right. That's very exciting, and we're going to get to it. I don't have a tremendous amount of stock in the idea I'm about to posit to you, because it came to me only a handful of days ago, and it's something I've thought about on and off, but it seems a little bit more solid this time around. So we're going to talk about it and see how we feel about it. Let's get to it. The idea has to do with actions. I'm a big believer that a person is the things that they do, or you can find the measure of a person by who they spend time with. If you don't identify as, say, a party house attender, one who goes to party houses all the time, but you hang out with partiers and drinkers and people who are substance users, and you go to party houses all the time, you, at best, are a person who attends party houses, but probably, if that's the company that you keep, you are a party house attender. That's a lifestyle. You're a partier. If you don't, like, you go to parties all of the time, you're a partier. Whether you think that you're only there to observe all the drama and you don't actually get close to these people, you don't take stock in their lives or whatever, and you keep them at distance and it's fun to like hang out, but that's not who you are, but that's where you spend your time, that's what you do, those are the people you surround yourselves with, you are a partier. And I suppose it's a little bit similar to a few videos ago where I had an outfit that was so stinking cute, even though my outfit today is also, by the way, very cute. It's one of my very favorite ones. But if you're a person who's cute, you do that cute behavior on camera or off, so to speak, but in front of other people or not. You are the actions that you take. And that's just something that I believe. And the subject of today's video has to do with the actions that you take, because I kinda don't think that fake it till you make it is real. It's always a saying I've disliked for a lot of reasons, and it's one of the ones I actually vehemently dislike. You know, I'll go to arms, like I hate fake it till you make it. It makes no sense to me. Because of that actions thing, and I just hadn't thought about it all of the way. Why do I dislike the phrase so much? All I've known is that I really dislike the phrase. Because if you are the company that you keep, which I firmly believe, but if you are also like your actions, and you choose to hang out with the people you choose to hang out with, you are the company you keep, you choose to hang out with the people you hang out with, that's your action that you take. Who you are is reflected in your actions. You are what you do. I want to table that for just a second and go to a different concept where it's really dangerous to say it's hard for me and it's easier for everyone else, because you only ever see someone else's like highlight reel, and you never get the chance to see their messy cutting room floor, which is again something I try to do with Phineas Former, is just, I'm an absolute mess, I'm a lunatic, I'm a nutcase, and it feels good to display that and just show people what it's like a little bit to be a mess. And some people are like, oh wow, no one's ever said that before, and it's like, because I have no idea why. But I do have this feeling that people are alone in their messy cutting room floor because no one is like, hey, look at my messy cutting room floor, and then everyone else is like, oh my gosh, it's such a mess, look at mine. People don't do that. People are only displaying their highlights, and we get super depressed, you know, browsing Facebook or Instagrams or whatever the thing is. And it's really strange when you're looking at YouTube videos of furries who inspire you, or like dancing furries on TikTok, or for me, it was a lot of the furry streamers who I wanted to be because they were living the life I thought that I wanted, because it looks excellent, even though I have no idea who the person is inside of the helmet, the fancy VR hat with the TV screens inside of it. It's really dangerous to compare yourself to other people because you're not seeing other people, you're only seeing what they choose to display. You are seeing the actions that they take. This is easily demonstrated, and it's so easily demonstrated I feel silly even saying it, but I want to say it for the sake of completion of the thought. But we live in a shared world, obviously. And no matter how hard I think about something, nothing can change, like nothing will change. Everything is absolutely guaranteed to be the same if I don't affect the world in some way. Because the people around me can only interact with the world, kind of. And it falls apart if you look at it too closely, so I just recommend no one looks at it too closely. But down to the one-on-one, really deeply personal conversations you can have with someone, you are still affecting the world by using your words to affect the other person's world and their view of you, etc. You have to take actions to affect the world, and everyone else can only see the world and receive the changes you put out to it based on your actions and the things that you do. You have to affect the world to affect change. And the point I think I'm trying to make here is regardless of the intentionality behind the actions that you do take, the change which you affected in the world is the change which took place. You are your actions because that's the only thing people can perceive of you. And to the eyes of the world, if nothing else, that is what you are. That's what you've chosen to display. That's the actions you took. So the world receives you in that way, regardless of what's going on the inside, and your like messy cutting room floor or whatever. You are your actions. You affect the world with your actions. People see your actions because that's the only thing that they can see, etc. I have described nothing new, but I want to start trying to combine these ideas, and I want to ultimately debunk fake it till you make it. I suppose to me it's a little bit similar to the idea I have where I don't believe in guilty pleasures. That's just dumb. Why is it a guilty pleasure? Why are you trying to limit yourself that way? Why just make it a pleasure? Because you've modified the word pleasure. It's a guilt. What type of pleasure is it? Oh, it's a guilty pleasure. That's still a pleasure. Falls in the category of pleasure. You can drop the word guilty because it's still pleasure. You are talking about pleasure fundamentally. Why do you have to qualify it with guilty? Get rid of guilty pleasures. I hate guilty pleasures. Do not be ashamed. Do not watch things unironically, by the way. You are your actions if you watch something unironically. Ironically, like it's just you watched it. Get out of here with your weird modifier. Get out of here with your guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure. Be honest of who you are and do whatever it is that you feel guilty of without guilt, because you shouldn't be guilty about the things that bring you pleasure. It's fine. So it's in the same vein that I'm toying around with this idea, um, I guess a kind of this dismantling of fake it till you make it. Because understanding, regardless of what's happening on the inside, it's my actions which, in the eyes of the world, measure who I am. So no matter what I'm feeling on the inside, dang it. Oh, I'm struggling on this one. And this is why I like this channel in the first place, is because I often learn what I'm talking about while I'm talking about it. And there's so many flaws and logic holes in what I'm saying. So I'm going to keep saying it to finish this thought, even though there's tons of problems with it. And then we're going to just talk about the problems with it. And we'll probably close out the video. Even though I don't think I've even said anything of particular use, I still feel like, we stay the course. So that's what we're going to be doing, is we finish the thought that I don't love, and then we're going to talk about what I don't love about it. It's honestly pretty short, though, in order to finish the flawed thought that I was in the middle of having, and the one that I've been discussing this entire video so far, where, say you want to be a cute person, so you dress cute. No, what's a better example? Alright, say we are going to stay with the cute thing that I made a few videos ago. That's just kind of like what's on my mind. That's the most recent example I can think of. So let's say you are a super slob person who doesn't shower, and it doesn't matter because you never go out anyway, and you don't have friends, you don't have a reason to smell nice or to whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't make your bed in the morning because it's not like anyone sees it, and then you just make it a mess again at night. So why are you making the bed in the first place? That general thing of just you're a messy person. Fake it till you make it might have you start showering even though you don't feel like showering and there's no point to showering, but you're gonna fake it anyway as though you do want to be a clean and tidy person until one day you wake up and find yourself to be a clean and tidy person. It falls apart if you think about it too hard. This is a bad example, but we're going with it. My proposed alternative is if you shower, you are a person who showers, you are a neat and tidy person, regardless of what's happening on the inside. That is woefully inadequate now that I say it out loud. Oh. Because if you try and be a neat and tidy person, I don't even know why I'm making. Because if you try to be a neat and tidy person, even though you don't feel like one on the inside, then however neat and tidy you are, it feels like lies. And you don't want to live a lie. I don't like living a lie either. So I don't want to fake anything. Even if it's good behaviors, I don't want to fake those things because I want to be genuinely who I am. But I'm also ashamed of behavior like being a slob, for instance, or a lot of the other just behaviors that I'm ashamed of, and I'm sure I have plenty if I just think about them for 2 seconds, but I don't like being ashamed, so I'm not going to think about them right now. But I guarantee there's things I do that I don't love doing, that I don't want to tell or share with people, because I don't love those parts about me. And those are the things you might be tempted to fake it until you make it because you want to change who you are, even if those actions feel like lies because they are lies because you know your motivation behind them. So you don't want to shower and be a tidy person if you know it's full of lies. I'm actually a slob underneath it all. In this instance, to comport yourself with integrity would be to boldly display yourself as a slob. All right. I'm going to take this to a different space. I'm going to see if any of this makes any more sense using a much more active, like actively taking place literally right now example. And then I'm going to try to apply all the stuff I've done to it. And if none of it works out anyway, then I'm just probably going to scrap this entire video because none of it means anything. And I've just been actually babbling about lies for a really long time because I thought I was onto something that turns out I'm super duper not. But I am still rather an insecure person about being in the living room with all of my fancy pants VR gear on, filming a YouTube video to an itty bitty channel where I talk about not really very much stuff. The behavior that I take is strange, and the life I've decided to build and just have found myself into is a strange life, and that's perfectly fine, and I enjoy it when I don't think about it too hard. Chicken dance. I wanted to make sure my full body was on because I forgot to. So if I listened to the voices on the inside where I am a little bit, maybe not necessarily ashamed or like some sort of an insecurity, it's still new to me, being in the living room presenting something, even though I know that what it looks like physically is I'm just in my living room talking to myself like a madman, which is fundamentally what is taking place. I don't love that imagery, and so it's sometimes still pretty hard to just make videos and be open and honest when, like, my roommate's home. It was much harder when it was my physical family members, which is an interesting dynamic, and maybe I'll explore that another time. There's something there that needs to be explored, that's for sure. And I absolutely could work out different ways with like my work schedule or figure out ways to really do my filming only when no one's home so I have the place ultimately to myself. And that's just deeply limiting. And I think it might be unnecessary because something I try to do is adopt a mentality of I don't care if people see me because what I'm doing is really cool. So I pretend to be someone who doesn't mind being seen in his living room with tons of VR gear on, talking to himself like a madman. Because there are people in the world who do feel that way. There are people who are unashamed about their time in VR, as you should be. No one should be ashamed of their time in VR. It's super duper cool. Also, it's just a hobby. Also, it's just super duper fun. Also, it's whatever. It's not a big deal at all. Feels like a big deal to me, but I understand to many people, even to most people, it is not a big deal. So there is a precedent in this world. What am I doing with this video? We stay the course. Better or worse, we stay the course. So long as I understand, there is a real world precedent. There are people who are not ashamed of being in VR. I can adopt such a mentality and also not be ashamed of being in VR, even though to me it's a little bit of an act. I have to actively adopt a frame of mind that I'm not ashamed of being in VR to then be in VR and not experience shame. That is something that actually does occur. It's literally taking place right now. And this is the part of the video where I get really upset. Because what I just did, for however many minutes long this little diatribe has been, I literally just described, using far more words, fake it till you make it. What? What? Being a thespian, putting on a play, television is fundamentally a lie. Movies don't exist. People are telling you lies. They're not actually the Grinch. They're just Jim Carrey dressed up in green. I don't know why that's my example, but I chose to make that my example. They're all playing pretend. And it's enjoyable to watch, and they're telling a narrative. That's fine. But because you are your actions and what you decide to put out into the world, when you put on an act, you are making manifest a performance, but you're doing that regardless of what your intentionality truly is, because everything is a performance, because no one can ever know who you truly are on the inside, because a world lives and dies within you. No one can perceive the world through your very specific and unique lens. So no one can ever know what your actions, like what your intentionality is, not really. Thing is, there's shame in faking something. I don't want to fake anything. But there's not any shame in putting on an act. People put on acts all the time. People go to theaters and watch people perform. You go to the movies, you watch a movie, and people perform. And I perform a little bit. These videos, I like to a little bit project or at least inhabit a form that I don't really get to in the real world. I'm getting so much better at it, and I have noticed myself become more Phineas Former in the real world as I learn how to be Phineas Former here. It's fascinating stuff, but I adore it, but it's really fascinating. It's an unintended consequence of what it is I've been doing so far, is I'm being more myself in the real world after learning how to be myself in the virtual world. That brings to mind a mildly interesting thought experiment. Am I putting on an act when I'm making videos in VR, or is my human life more of an act because the intentionalities of what really matters to me is the things that I express in VR? I don't overthink things, you guys overthink things. And maybe now you're overthinking things because I shared some of my overthink. I don't know. And then I'm going to bring up a non sequitur real quick, and then I'm going to try and tie everything together, probably fail and mess it up, fumble the end of the video, and then awkwardly close it out after having had no resolution. Oh, I want to operate myself with integrity to you people. I do not want to engage in deception or lies or fake anything. I just want to tell you what to expect. So, a movie I am recently deeply obsessed with is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. There's a few YouTube shorts which are free, and I highly recommend looking them up because your life will be a better place for engaging with Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And there's one particular point fairly early on in the film where he's dealing with talking about a sense of loss because the community of shells is gone missing, and that's like you find that stuff out in like 2 minutes of into the film. It's just the premise, so I'm not spoiling anything there. But he says a line where he's looking out the window on like a beautiful day shortly after this loss, and he says, uh, he remembered really looking out on a really beautiful day, and it just like quintessential sun through the thing, and there's birds doing their stuff or whatever. It's a beautiful day. And he just remembered looking out the window and saying that if he was someone else, he would really be enjoying this. And that just struck me to the core, baby. Are you kidding me? That is intense. And part of me wonders, could it not be that you could adopt the performance of someone who would be enjoying that. And I want to head to a space with that thought, which I cannot successfully execute. But I do think we might be onto something here. Because I do not find any attachment whatsoever to the physical world. That's just not who I am. I'm not based in that. I don't go outside and look at flowers and meadows, and I don't go on hikes. And I was like, wow, I feel so one with nature. This is so beautiful. There's so many flowers, and nature is everywhere. And it's like, yeah, it's a tree. I've seen they're a dime a dozen. I've seen a tree before. I don't need to see this one. I know what a tree is. And I don't feel any sense of majesty or connection when I go like camping or go on hikes. And a lot of people feel really reset when they go to nature. They find a form of center there. That's not me at all. Could it be that if I adopted a performance of someone who did enjoy hikes, that I could, to some extent, enjoy a hike more if I leaned all the way into the performance of such a thing? My answer there is absolutely not. I have tried doing that a bazillion times with hiking and trying to make myself fit in with friend groups who I really just don't. And I'm trying to be someone I'm not, which is kind of putting on a performance, and that doesn't work for me. Something which has worked is putting on a performance for Phineas Former. Literally right now, performing as someone who is not weirdly ashamed of being in VR gear in the living room with full body tracking, you know. That's weirdly shameful for me, but I can put on the performance of a person who doesn't care, and that feels easier to pull off. It's better for me than something more grand and something far more out of my scope, like putting on the performance of someone who enjoys hiking, because I fundamentally do not care about your fancy trees. Your landscape can go to hell. I don't care. I kind of like the horizon, because it's like that's a concept. There's a eh, eh. That seems to suggest that putting on the performance of something far outside of your scope is difficult, not beneficial. You're too far out of your depth, so you don't know how to do it, so you're just operating really blindly. I don't know what kind of language to put towards it, but it seems to suggest that going out of your comfort zone in small ways, and you have to pretend to be someone you're not, but it still relates to, say, making videos in VR, which I'm deeply invested in, has to do with Phineas Former, which I am. So I can pretend in ways which relate to Phineas Former. And even the social connections I've been making recently inside of, say, Resonite, I have to a little bit put on a performance of someone who's not worried or concerned or deeply excited, because I just have so much excitable energy, and I have to try not to just be excited all over some of the people that I've been meeting. So I'm adopting the performance of someone cool, calm, and collected, even though I am not calm, cool, and collected on the inside. Sometimes I am. And those are easier performances to adopt. And I think we might be ready to try and bring all of these things together. I said I was going to, I'll probably fumble it, but I think there might be something here, like I said before. Because I do not believe fake it till you make it is enough. That might be a bit like when you're learning how to draw. You cannot just draw every day. And you're like, why am I not getting better? It's because you just doodled. I could draw every day. I could just doodle, pen, paper, here we go. But you have to intentionally practice. I'm doing line arts. I'm trying to work on colors and shapes today. You are intentionally drawing. Faking it is taking showers, even though you do not care, it's not, you hate it, you're doing it under protest, but you're faking the behavior, that's not enough. Performing the behavior without adequate levels of intentionality, when you're practicing drawing, you have to be intentional in order to actually get anywhere. If you want to adjust your behaviors, you have to do so with intentionality and integrity. You cannot just fake the behaviors. That's not enough. Actors, when they're putting on a performance, are not just faking being a businessman, going to their meeting, and then singing about how they're a company man, and they're just saying yes to everyone, and why am I talking about that as my example? But to sell a lie, television is a lie, you have to go deeper into it with intentionality to be another character, to tell an active story. You're not just lying, it's more intentional than that. And I use that language linking together faking something with lying about it. Maybe that's not correct of me to do, but if something is fake, it's a lie to me. A performance is not a lie. There's integrity applied to it. Which to me kind of implies if you're doing a performance and someone comes to you and accuses you of like you're not actually a clean person, you're a slob on the inside, you're just lying. If you've operated with integrity, you can say, yes, it's a performance. And I have had deeply unsupportive people in my life who in the past absolutely, as I buy more into Phineas Former and I've used language, I am Phineas Former, which is just a true thing. Actually unsupportive, like actual people, the reason I've had to be secret about myself for so long and why it took an entire virtual reality, I can't say that's why it took long, but it was very hard to dig out of a mentality that was kind of beaten into me through a lot of life, where I'd have a lot of people say, but you're not actually, you don't actually think you're a cat, you're just the human who puts on a VR headset, no, it's just pretend. And those are just bad people to have in your life. Get those people out of your life. If you have to move out of state to get those people, like that's a bad person to have in your life, don't do that. That's not, you deserve more than that. That's a bad. Don't don't suffice those people in your life. That's so bad. But with adequate levels of integrity behind the performance of Phineas Former, it could be that I could withstand assault towards my behavior of being a VR kitty cat making videos by saying, yes, clearly, I'm a human in my living room putting on virtual reality gear, talking about being a cat. Obviously, this is a performance because what physically is going on is I am a human inside of a VR headset. Not faking being a cat. Clearly, it is a performance. Yet, with enough time and additional intentionality placed into this project, were there to be an assailant, you don't really think you're a kitty cat. You are a human inside of the, or like for some reason, and I don't have those people in my life anymore. But if anyone tried saying that, I've been doing this long enough with the correct amount of intentionality and learning enough about the system of Phineas Former and how it relates to me and what I get out of it. I can say with absolute certainty that I am Phineas Former. There are enough elements of me in what I do here I am inarguably as much Phineas Former as I am, say, a programmer or um, a service industry worker or a cute person or a slob or neat and tidy or whatever kind of descriptor you want, anything that is betrayed by your actions, any form of self. And I don't know that I ever faked being Phineas Former. In some of the videos I've made, the ones I'm least proud of, I was trying too hard to be Phineas Former, and those videos didn't have the correct levels of integrity. And for those videos, and really only I know which ones those are, but I deeply apologize. Because that's like me trying to be Phineas Former, not being Phineas Former in a strange way. But I a little bit adopted, like skipped straight to adopting a persona of Phineas Former, which was a physical virtual form I used to express the intense body of emotionality I've come to be so in tune with, I suppose. So that is a performance. I had to choose what physical ways I would like to represent this body of emotion. If I'm going to put me out in the real world, how do I want to do that? And that's nothing but strict intentionality applied to actions to affect the world around me, to display who I am because we are what we do. I am Phineas Former because Phineas Former is what I do. When I get off work, this is all I want to do. This is what I think about. I make videos. I'm so excited about them. I love this. And it's things I decided to do to. I'm talking myself in circles at this point. And I think a little bit if I faked being a virtual kitty cat and I made a YouTube channel and I tried being a streamer, even though those weren't linked to my core and it just looked fun or it sounded like something I wanted to do, I would have quit by now. There's been enough times it's inconvenient enough, I've had to invest enough um, resources, but then enough time and make sacrifices between hanging out with friends and making real world connections versus throwing all of what I have into this hobby of mine. And if I did not have the adequate levels of integrity to withstand the pressures of an entire world, I would have given up. I think that's faking it. I think with adequate levels of integrity, faking it becomes adopting a performance and different rules apply. In summary, faking it is not enough. If all you do is fake it, I'm not convinced you will ever make it. It's possible if you fake it long enough, then you can start to understand some of the actions that you're taking, link the actions inside of yourself, understand how the behaviors do affect you after faking the behaviors enough. I could see the argument that it works. For me, it's woefully inadequate, and I prefer to go the other way around. Determine your body of emotionality the changes in the world you would like to affect. I want to be able to project myself, and I want to be able to be who I am, that my human form isn't able to express the right way. How would I like to achieve the effect of being who I am in a free and fun and engaging way? I'll make a VTubing kitty cat. And it is first understanding this intense body of emotionality, pairing it with a desired effect, finding ways to connect those, and performing the actions, the actions required to achieve said effect. This is adopting a performance which operates from a space of integrity, which is far less assailable. It is a position, to me, of far more strength. And in that case, you are never faking anything. Ultimately, your actions may be the same. But say someone does accuse you of lying or trying to be something that you're not. If you've been faking it, you have to say, at least I'm trying, or I'm doing my best, or something. But it's a weaker argument. Versus the space of integrity I've been describing. If someone accuses you then of faking it, you can fall back to, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. These are the actions I've taken so far to accomplish my goal. I want to hit it one more time, and then I'm going to be done. This video is long enough, and it's long enough. The things you do are the behaviors which change the world. As you change the world, you can listen to the change which occurred, which you enacted, measure the change. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Bring that to inform your sense of self. And at that point, you can adjust yourself based on if you liked the change or not, how much energy it took, things like that. That's the mentality of faking it, because you took actions to change the world, decided how you felt about it, then you incorporate it into you. The position of strength is to understand your connection with what you desire in the world and the change you would like to enact, and then performing the actions which relate to that change. Both systems, identical. They achieve the same result, they are the same thing. You're changing the world, you're changing yourself. One of them is a little bit harder to execute, I would say. It requires a lot of back-end work to be able to stand quite firm in how you relate to the change you wish to effect. but that makes the change far easier to effect. It's far less assailable. And I don't think it has to be that hard to do. Not really. Ultimately, we land on this. Nobody can know your intentionalities, ever. If you find a way to get that out of you, please let me know. As far as I know, language is inadequate. And your intention can be faking it, or it can be a space of integrity. Nobody else can ever know that. You will always know that. I would recommend and I at least like to understand that my actions come from a space of integrity. And I would rather not act as I spend time locating that integrity opposed to acting without integrity. Fake it till you make it can suck a fat dick. Adopting a performance fueled by heart and the change I desire to make which result in the actions. It's closer to the center of who you are. It's easier to pull off. It's far more fun. It's defendable, unassailable, feels good, lets you stand firm in your actions, firm where you are. It's fun. This video was a mess. This video was all over the place. So I'm going to go walk out of frame, and then I'm going to actually walk back into frame, but you won't see that part. And then I'm going to film the intro to this video, because I have to warn people that I rambled for so long. I don't know if I actually landed anywhere. I don't even know what this video was, but I do love making videos that I don't know what they're for. And I don't even know what this whole video was for. I don't even think it was for me. But, I mean, yeah, there you go. There you go. I don't know how else to end this, so I'm just gonna, you know, fake it that I like wiggling or something. Okay, bye guys.